the Negro League star, who out-hit Babe Ruth, and you have never heard his name. Chapter 1. The Impossible Truth. What if I told you there was a baseball player who out-hit Babe Ruth head-to-head, dominated pitchers that the Sultan of Swat could not touch, and put up numbers that would make modern superstars jealous, but you have probably never heard his name. This is not speculation or myth-making. This is the documented, statistically backed story of Josh Gibson, the man they called the Black Babe Ruth, who was actually better than the original. I am Mike, and today we are uncovering one of baseball's greatest injustices, how the most dominant hitter in the sport's history was kept out of the major leagues because of the color of his skin, and how his incredible achievements were buried by a system that could not handle his greatness. Chapter 2. Two worlds, one game. Picture this. It is 1930, and Babe Ruth is at the height of his powers. He is the most famous athlete in America, the home run king, a larger-than-life figure who saved baseball after the Black Sox scandal. But just a few miles away from Yankee Stadium, in the Homestead Grays ballpark, there is a catcher who is making Ruth look ordinary. His name is Josh Gibson, and he is about to rewrite everything you think you know about baseball's greatest hitters. While Ruth was hitting home runs into the right field bleachers, Gibson was hitting them out of the stadium entirely. While Ruth was batting .300, Gibson was hitting .400. While Ruth was drawing crowds of white fans, Gibson was putting on shows that left everyone, black and white, speechless. But here is the tragedy. Because of baseball's color barrier, these two titans would only face each other in exhibition games, and when they did, Gibson dominated. Chapter 3. The Prodigy. From Pittsburgh, Joshua Gibson was born in 1911 in Buena Vista, Georgia, but his family moved to Pittsburgh when he was 12, part of the Great Migration that brought millions of African Americans north in search of better opportunities. Like so many kids, Josh fell in love with baseball, but unlike other kids, he was a prodigy from the very beginning. By age 16, Gibson was already playing semi-professional baseball in Pittsburgh. By 18, he was catching for the Homestead Grays, one of the premier teams in the Negro Leagues, and by 20, he was being called the greatest hitter anyone had ever seen, black or white. But here's what makes Gibson's story so remarkable. He was not just good for the Negro Leagues. He was transcendent. His power was legendary, his batting average was astronomical, and his ability to perform in clutch situations was unmatched. We are talking about a player who, in his prime, was hitting over .400 while launching home runs that traveled distances that seemed physically impossible. Chapter 4. The numbers do not lie. The numbers are staggering. In documented games, and this is crucial, because Negro League record-keeping was often incomplete, Gibson hit over 800 home runs in his career. That is more than Babe Ruth. That is more than Hank Aaron. That is more than anyone in the history of organized baseball. But it gets better. In head-to-head exhibition games against Major League pitching, Gibson's dominance was even more pronounced. Against the same pitchers who were striking out Ruth and Lou Gehrig, Gibson was hitting line drives that sounded different coming off the bat. Witnesses described a crack like thunder, followed by baseballs disappearing into the night sky. Chapter 5. The Legendary Showdown. One of the most famous stories comes from a 1930 exhibition game in Pittsburgh. The Homestead Grays were playing a team of Major League All-Stars that included several future Hall of Famers. Gibson came to the plate in the bottom of the ninth. 2 outs, bases loaded, his team down by 3 runs. The Major League pitcher, a man who had dominated American League hitters all season, threw his best fastball. Gibson turned on it and hit a ball that witnesses said was still rising when it cleared the center field wall, some 450 feet away. The Major League players stood in stunned silence. They had never seen anything like it. Chapter 6. Even the experts knew, but perhaps the most telling evidence of Gibson's superiority comes from the pitchers themselves. Dizzy Dean, one of the greatest pitchers of the 1930s, faced Gibson multiple times in exhibition games. After one particularly dominant performance by Gibson, Dean was asked by reporters how he would pitch to him in the major leagues. Dean's response was simple: "I would not." Satchel Paige, Gibson's teammate, and the most famous Negro League pitcher, put it even more bluntly: Josh Gibson was the greatest hitter who ever lived. Ruth hit big flies, but Gibson hit bigger ones. Chapter 7. The Statistical Domination. The statistical evidence backs up these testimonials. In documented games against Major League pitching, Gibson hit .426, that's a slugging percentage over 800. To put that in perspective, that is better than Babe Ruth's best season. That is better than Ted Williams in 1941. That is better than Barry Bonds in 2004. But Gibson was not just a power hitter, he was a complete player. He was an exceptional catcher with a cannon for an arm. He was fast enough to steal bases. He was smart enough to call his own games. In any other era, in any other circumstances, you would have been the face of baseball. Chapter 8. The Parallel Universe. Instead, he was trapped in a parallel universe, playing in a league that was separate and supposedly equal, but was actually starved of resources, recognition, and respect. While Babe Ruth was making headlines and endorsement deals, Gibson was riding buses through the Jim Crow South, playing in ballparks without lights, sleeping in boarding houses because hotels would not accept black guests. The cruel irony is that Gibson's peak years coincided exactly with Ruth's decline. As the Bambino was aging, and his numbers were dropping, Gibson was entering his prime, and putting up numbers that made Ruth's look pedestrian. But because of segregation, there was no way for the sporting public to make direct comparisons. Chapter 9. The Missed Opportunity. That changed briefly during World War II. With many major league players overseas, there was talk of integrating baseball. Branch Rickey was already scouting Negro League players, looking for the right man to break the color barrier. Gibson's name was at the top of every list. But there was a problem. By 1945, Gibson was struggling with personal demons. The constant travel, the financial stress, the knowledge that he was being denied his rightful place in baseball history. It was taking a toll. He was drinking heavily, his weight was fluctuating, and his legendary discipline at the plate was starting to slip. Chapter 10. The Heartbreak. When Rickey finally chose Jackie Robinson to integrate baseball in 1947, Gibson was devastated. He knew he was the better player. He knew he had earned the right to be first. But he also knew that Robinson was younger, more stable, and better equipped to handle the enormous pressure that would come with breaking baseball's color barrier. Gibson tried to stay positive. He told friends that Robinson's success would open doors for other Negro League stars. He believed his time would come. He was wrong. Chapter 11. The Tragic End. As Robinson was winning Rookie of the Year honors and transforming baseball, Gibson was playing out the string in the Negro Leagues. Watching his skills erode and his opportunities disappear, the window that had been cracked open for Jackie Robinson was closing for everyone else. On the 20th of January, 1947, just 3 months before Robinson's Major League debut, Josh Gibson died of a stroke. He was 35 years old, the greatest hitter in baseball history. Never got his chance to prove it on the biggest stage. Chapter 12. The Buried Legacy. But here is what makes Gibson's story even more tragic. The evidence of his greatness was systematically ignored and suppressed for decades after his death. While Ruth's legend grew larger with each passing year, Gibson's achievements were relegated to footnotes and whispered stories in barbershops and Negro League reunions. It was not until the 1970s, when researchers began seriously studying Negro League statistics, that the full scope of Gibson's dominance became clear. And even then, many of his records were incomplete or disputed because of the informal record-keeping practices of the era. Chapter 13. The Incomplete Recognition. Today, Josh Gibson is in the Baseball Hall of Fame, inducted in 1972, but his plaque tells only part of the story. It mentions his power and his nickname, but it does not capture the full tragedy of what was lost when baseball's color barrier kept him from competing against the best players of his era. Modern statistical analysis has only reinforced what those who saw Gibson play always knew. He was the greatest hitter who ever lived. His combination of power, average, and clutch performance has never been matched. In head-to-head competition against major league talent, he was demonstrably superior to Babe Ruth. Chapter 14. The Greater Tragedy. But statistics only tell part of the story. The real tragedy of Josh Gibson is not just that he was denied the chance to play in the major leagues. It is that his exclusion robbed baseball fans of witnessing the greatest hitter in the sport's history. Imagine the home run races, the World Series heroics, the legendary moments that never happened because of segregation. Chapter 15. Why this matters today. So why does Josh Gibson's story matter today? Because it reminds us that greatness does not always get the recognition it deserves. It reminds us that some of the most important stories in sports history have been hidden in plain sight. And it reminds us that when we talk about the greatest players who ever lived, we need to include the players who were kept from proving their greatness on the biggest stage. Josh Gibson did not just out-hit Babe Ruth, he out-hit everyone. His story is not just about baseball, it is about justice, recognition, and the price of prejudice. He was the greatest hitter who ever lived, and it is time the world knew his name. What do you think? Should Josh Gibson be remembered as the greatest hitter in baseball history? How different would baseball's record books look if the Negro Leagues had been integrated from the beginning? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to learn more about the incredible players who were kept out of the major leagues, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Next week, we are diving into another forgotten legend, the pitcher who threw 100 in 1946, the decades before radar guns could prove it. Trust me, you will not want to miss it.